Today we're going to be talking about changes to California law that allow you to start a coffee business with fewer barriers to entry. In this video, I'm going to show you how Senate Bill 972 helps coffee operators run a business that's capable of making over $1,000 a day. By the end of this video, you will know all of the details for finally starting your coffee business and how Senate Bill 972 has changed the game for coffee operators in California. I'm Matt, I'm the owner of Kaleo Coffee. I've been running my coffee operation in Ventura, California since 2015. At the moment, I have a coffee shop in Moore Park, California, and we have our roastery here in Ventura. Kaleo Coffee also has one of the very few coffee tech service businesses in Southern California, and we sell and service all the big names in coffee equipment. We have experience in all aspects of coffee operations. So we do content like this to try to help other coffee operators finally achieve their dream of owning a successful coffee shop. All right, you might be asking, what is Senate Bill 972 and how does that apply to coffee businesses? Well, we're gonna go through all the details right now. Previously, local health codes constrained coffee businesses and mobile coffee operations. In California, the government adopted Senate Bill 972 to make it much easier for people to get started. Let's open up by talking about some of the key benefits of Senate Bill 972 and how it helps mobile coffee operators. First of all, mobile coffee operators no longer have to have a 3-compartment sink on their mobile coffee operation. Previously, this required you to have to carry enough water to do all the dishes. Now, with mobile coffee operations, you don't have to have a 3-tub sink. All right, number 2, mobile coffee carts no longer need expensive commissary storage. Prior to Senate Bill 972, mobile coffee operators had to store their coffee carts at commissaries. The cost to store their carts often drove mobile coffee operators to give up their endeavor altogether or just not even start. Now, under certain conditions, you can store your cart at your home or a local coffee shop. Stay tuned until the end because we're gonna give you even more details about storing your coffee cart at home that's gonna unlock even more revenue potential. For coffee carts, the permitting process has been accelerated and the cost have been decreased. Prior to Senate Bill 972, mobile coffee operators had to undergo very similar processes and plan checks to permanent facilities like restaurants, and the cost was nearly the same. Since compact mobile food operations operate on a smaller footprint and typically deal with non-hazardous or limited hazardous foods and have limited preparation, they are now evaluated with less scrutiny than they were prior to Senate Bill 972. Finally, Senate Bill 972 was brought about to decriminalize sidewalk vending. This law reduces criminal penalties and instead replaces those penalties with administrative citations, which gives people a little bit more courage to go out and start a mobile operation like this. It has significantly reduced the legal risk for vendors, encouraging more to operate within the legal framework. Before we go any further, I want to give you some bullet points so that you can start taking notes while we go through some of the details of SB 972. This is a short list of everything you're going to need to operate a compact mobile food operation in California. In other jurisdictions or in other states, you might have very similar laws, so you'll want to look into your local health codes. We're going to dive into each one of these bullet points more in this video, but in the case of espresso equipment, we're going to dive into that in a different video. All right, so let's get into the Cliff Notes bullet points of exactly what you're going to need. First and foremost, the footprint has to be less than 25 square feet. Next, your compact mobile food operation has to be non-motorized. On your compact mobile food operation, you can have no prep or limited prep. If you do have limited preparation, you're gonna have a hand wash sink as well. Overhead protection for the compact mobile food operation is also required. All right, and then mechanical refrigeration is gonna be required as well if you're gonna be using cow's milk. However, if you're gonna do milk alternatives only, which are typically shelf stable, you can get away with an ice chest. Looking at all of the counties in Southern California, I would budget at least $1,000 for your plan check and for your food permit. You're gonna need an equipment source like a battery or a generator, depending on how much power your equipment is drawing. And the equipment that you do get has to be NSF or ETL certified. Now let's talk about some of the frequently asked questions that we get from some of the mobile coffee operators that we work with on the wholesale side of our business. If we don't answer your question here, make sure you leave it in the comments and we'll be sure to get back to you there. All right, so the first question is, what even is a compact mobile food operation? Well, we kind of already answered that question in the bullet points above, but A compact mobile food operation is a permanent food facility operating from a non-motorized conveyance. It is limited to non-food and limited food preparation only. There are additional limitations such as square footage, like we talked about earlier, which is 25, and the menu items that you can have. All right, so what is limited food preparation? Limited food preparation is the heating, blending, steaming of a non-packaged food or limited preparation food in response to a customer's order that is intended for immediate consumption. All right, so then following from that one, the question that we get is, can I make lattes on my coffee cart? And the answer is yes. Based on the law that we just talked about, limited food preparation, you can make lattes using cow milk or milk alternatives under limited food preparation. However, there are specific requirements. Cow's milk requires mechanical refrigeration to keep it at or below 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Milk alternatives, while usually shelf stable, should be kept cool for steaming and taste preference. You can use a ice chest for milk alternatives, but mechanical refrigeration is suggested just because it's easier and more convenient than hauling around ice and dealing with all of the melt. The next question we get is, what equipment is required for a CMFO focusing on coffee? So here's what you're gonna need. You're gonna need an espresso machine, and it's gonna have to be NSF or ETL certified. I recommend an automatic espresso machine that has at least one group head and runs off of 110 volts. I also suggest that you have a separate boiler on that espresso machine for steam and espresso. These are usually known as a dual boiler machine. Your grinder should also be NSF or ETL certified. You'll start to see a theme here with that ETL NSF certification. If your equipment does not have that certification, the health department will not permit you to operate. I like picking a grinder with a small footprint like the Malkunig E65. I would stay away from anything that has scales built in, because anything with a mobile operation is just gonna interfere with those scales and make them unreliable or possibly break them. A hand sink is required for handling food. It must be supplied with 5 gallons of fresh water, and it has to have an NSF pump that supplies pressure to the head, and you have to have at least 150% waste for that hand wash sink. For example, if you have 5 gallons of fresh water tank for your hand wash sink, you're gonna have to have 7.5 gallons for your wastewater. Multiple containers could be used for the wastewater, so you don't have to have a 7.5 gallon tank. You could use 2 5-gallon tanks, and they can be removable. And then a small refrigerator, again, we already talked about it, but a small refrigerator is suggested for handling your milk and any other kind of grab-and-go beverages you're gonna wanna serve on your cart. Like I said, you can get away with an ice chest, but it's discouraged just because it is cumbersome, and you may as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone with having a mechanical refrigerator that you're not gonna have to drain, and you're not gonna have to go looking for ice when it's time for you to fire up your mobile coffee operation. And then the power supply. You wanna make sure you have an adequate power supply to be able to power the espresso machine, which is usually at least 15 amps, and then all the other stuff that's on your cart as well. The refrigerator, the grinder, any kind of lights that you have are all going to draw additional power. Now, when it comes to your power source for the espresso machine, I highly suggest you have a separate power source for that. If not a separate power source, at least a separate cord that is able to pull the amount of power that the espresso machine is going to need. Oftentimes I see people set these coffee carts up with small extension cords that are not rated for the espresso machine, and they're not able to get the power out of the machine that they need for the performance the machine is rated for. Remember, when you're looking for power cords, the smaller the number on the power cord, you're gonna see a number on there that says GA, like 12 GA or 10 GA. That is the actual thickness of the wire, and the smaller the number, the thicker the wire. Just keep that in mind when you're looking for it. I wanna say a 12 gauge wire is good for an espresso machine. And then for powering your espresso machine, I haven't seen a lot of batteries that will be able to power an espresso machine for an entire day, but Honda does make the i2000 generator, I think is the model of it, and it only costs $1,300. It runs super quiet at like 47 or 50 decibels. That's probably the generator that I would go with to be able to run a La Marzocco GS3 or a Linea Mini. Now, some of the coffee carts that I've seen out there and some of the coffee bikes have solar panels built into, remember that overhead canopy that you're supposed to have? They have solar powers built into that power a battery. And from that battery, you can use that to power your grinder and your lights and whatever else you end up having on the cart. All right, and then the next question that we get is the obvious. How do I apply for a CMFO permit? Many local health agencies have incredibly helpful resources on their website. You'll have to submit your plans for review and your permit application to wherever your local health agency is. And that's usually through the county. The permit application through Ventura County is incredibly simple, and the application process and the actual application forms are very similar across quite a few other Southern California and Central California cities. Los Angeles County actually has some really incredible resources, and I would highly suggest you check those guys out. The links for all of these resources are gonna be down in the comments. All right, so then another obvious question is, how much does the permit cost? Well, I took Los Angeles County as an example because that's where we have the highest volume of mobile coffee operators, and their plan check fee there is $633 at the time of this video. And if I remember correctly, the actual compact mobile food operation permit is $299. And I checked a bunch of other counties throughout California as well, and it seems like everybody is somewhere within that range. You're gonna wanna check with your local health agency to see how much the plan check and permit fees are. It is worth noting that once you are certified in one county, you are usually able to get certified in neighboring counties for half the cost of a typical plan check and permit fee. All right, so then the next question is, what is a commissary and why is it needed? Well, a commissary is a place where you have to store your cart. It's a health permanent location where you're able to actually store the cart that's gonna be free of vermin, i.e. rats and bugs and whatnot. And it's also a place where you're able to store your supplies and clean the cart as well. At the end of each day, you're supposed to take your carts back to a commissary. Well, Senate Bill 972, as we discussed at the beginning, allows you to no longer have to go to a certified commissary, and you can instead use your home or a permitted food facility, such as a coffee shop. We run a coffee shop in Moore Park, as I discussed, and we are able to have a mobile coffee operation or a compact mobile food operation out of our location there. Now, here's the kicker when it comes to the cottage food operation or the microeconomic home kitchen operation. I think they abbreviate that as MEHKO, M-E-H-K-O, or a CFO, cottage food operation. A cottage food operation is essentially where you make your own baked goods at home. So there's a +1 right there for you. If you have a cottage food operation, you could also make your own scones and muffins to be able to sell on your coffee cart to go along with it. So you're gonna save money on having to store at a commissary, and you're also gonna make more money because you are not paying somebody else to make your stuff for you. So there's a lot of other information that goes into a cottage food operation or a MEHKO. And we might do another video on that if enough people ask about it, but I would just go to your, again, local health agency for these answers, and they have some really valuable resources there. One thing of note though is a MEHKO, you can only earn $50,000 gross revenue max with a MEHKO. So just keep that in mind. Another thing of note is if you do have a cottage food operation, you're able to store 2 mobile coffee operations out of your cottage food operated facility. So a couple of hacks there for you. Spend the extra money, take the extra time, get a cottage food operation if your home will allow it. All right, so then another question we get is, can I make food at my home for my compact mobile food operation? Well, we just answered that question. Yes, you can. I highly encourage it. Again, go check out your local health agency for information on a cottage food operation or a microeconomic home kitchen operation, MEHKO. All right, guys, so you made it to the end here. So just to kind of recap, understanding and complying with Senate Bill 972 is essential for aspiring coffee operators or mobile coffee operators. While this guide focuses on California regulations, the same principles can be applied in other states as well. Again, as I keep saying, you're gonna wanna check with your local jurisdiction as well. I'm sure that you're gonna have opportunities just like we have here in California. By securing the proper permits and understanding the regulations, you can set up your coffee cart for success. For more detailed information, check out the comments below and some of our other videos, and obviously go back to your local health agency. They're gonna have some resources for you. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notifications when we make more content like this that hopefully is going to help other aspiring coffee operators achieve their dream of success. Thank you.